Hey, everybody.
I can't unmute.
How's everybody doing?
I can't unmute.
I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. Working on my birthday.
Do you have plans?
We're not doing anything too special. I've got a few friends coming over. We're gonna cook some steaks and stuff here probably about 3 hours or so.
That's special.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Probably have 10, 12 people over is all.
Wear your masks.
We're in Iowa. There's no masks. Now in Illinois, you got to wear a mask everywhere over there. But in Iowa, there's really no rules and no mask rules anywhere. Well, some places require it, but for the most part, no masks. But I haven't seen my parents. My mom's birthday's on the 25th, so her birthday was yesterday.
Oh no. So you haven't seen them?
My mom's sister's birthday's on the 24th. My mom's birthday's on the 25th. My birthday's on the 26th. But my parents, my mom turned 69 yesterday. My dad's 78. He'll be 70. He'll be 78 in November. But I haven't seen them because they're kind of like, they stay away from everybody. They're really healthy, but they, they just try to be safe,
Right.
So,
right.
my dad's had 3 heart attacks.
Whoa.
So they stay, I guess you would consider them high risk. But, the last heart attack my dad had, he had it doing deadlifts. This would have been in 2017. He had a heart attack doing deadlifts with 300 pounds.
Oh
my.
Wow. At the Y, you said?
He was doing deadlifts at the Y with 300 pounds, which the only reason why he was using 300 was because that's all the Y went up to. They just have a small Y where he lives. But he would have been like 75 years old, 180 pounds, doing deadlifts at 300.
Wow.
And has a heart attack. So he sets it down, drives himself to the hospital, and they take him to Iowa City. So. Robbie, you having trouble hearing? I think Robbie's having a hard time hearing. Everybody else can hear me, right? Sai, you can hear me?
I can hear you. I heard the thing. The concern about deadlifts.
Yep. You do. You're a deadlifter.
Oh yeah. Hopefully I'll be all right.
Well, so my dad has this heart attack, and I tell you, this guy, he's just as tough as nails, man. I'll tell this story just real quick as we wait for other people to jump on. And I think Robbie's having trouble hearing. But let me just Robbie, can you hear us yet?
Yes, it's fine now.
Okay.
I can hear you now.
Cool. So anyway, my dad, he has this heart attack and he has to have surgery, like open heart surgery. And so they take him to Iowa City, because that's where all the best hospitals are where we're from. It's like an hour from here. And so he's like, my dad's had he's on blood thinners because he's been having heart attacks since he was in his early 60s. And my uncle, his brother, died of a heart attack at 62. So he's on these blood thinners. So they're trying to do this surgery and they can't get him to stop bleeding because it's a major deal. So they're like, he's gone. He ain't gonna make it. Call in the pastor. Call in the police. There's 8 or 9 people. He's down to he loses so much blood that if he loses a few drops more, it's over. And he recovers, and they figure out how to get it stopped. And I got there as fast as I could, and he's the end. The doctor, who was a young, real in shape, probably 45-year-old guy, but real in shape doctor, comes up to me and he goes, man, usually when this happens, I tell the family, hey, you got to get, you got to get so and so on a weight or some kind of an exercise program so that they get healthier. He goes, but for your dad, could you please tell him to not lift any weights for like a week? So he's a tough old dude. He called me today because it's my birthday, and so do you guys know? So my dad, so again, he's probably 175 pounds, maybe 180, 78 years old. And he mows his grass with the kind of mower you push that spins the reel. That's how he mows his grass. He hasn't started his riding lawnmower in 15, 20 years. And he mows the grass almost every single day. And so he wears these mowers out. He's on his third one. He's literally on his third one. And his first one was built in like the 1950s. That one lasted the longest. It was made the best. So when we were little kids, when we got in trouble, our yard would typically take, if you did a riding lawnmower, it'd take 2 hours to mow our grass. But if we got in trouble, we had to mow it with the push mower. Oh,
He sounds like a great guy.
oh, I could tell you some stories and you guys would not believe them. He's a rough old dude, but he's gotten mellow as he's gotten older. So a lot of people that like Trina, was only known him for 6 years, and she's like, boy, he's just a sweet old man. And I'm like, I'm gonna see him 40. I'll tell you that. So it looks like we got a bunch of people on. Ryan jumped on. We got Michael. We got somebody else on here. It's just a phone number.
Victor.
Victor's on. You must be driving, Victor. So cool.
Excuse me, Matt.
And Tara?
Yeah,
Tara?
can you mute me?
I got you right there. I'm gonna just you guys. So we got a small group here. So we've been doing these credit and bank financing videos, and they're a lot of fun to do, and we learned a lot. And I've got the book. This book that I'm writing. We're getting closer, but it's so detailed, and I'm such a perfectionist on this thing, and I know so much. I forgot how much I knew when I'm trying to teach somebody, so this thing doesn't ever seem to end. But we're getting closer and closer. I'm just a perfectionist, but that thing will be done before you know it. I hate to give you another date, but it's going to be amazing. So probably the best thing I've ever written. And typically, just so you guys know, insider secret, when I write a book, I hand off several sections to my team. As you know, Tyler and Amanda does a lot of it. Like, I've taught Amanda over the years, when I do something, I teach her. Then when I say, Amanda, I want to create this chapter, I just let her do it. And then I might add in my own twist to it. But this bank book is all me. I've gotten over 2,000 bank loans, and I know a lot. And I haven't taught anybody that stuff. So it just seems to never end, but it will be worth the wait. It is amazing. So anyway, this week I want to talk about credit card hacks and ways to make money from credit cards. And I don't want, like, there's a lot of guys out there that I'll put my knowledge, and I'm not a bragger type guy. I've done a lot of real estate, but I will put my banking knowledge against anybody. But on the credit card thing, there's a lot of people teaching credit card stuff out there. And I'll just tell you guys, I don't have all the answers on the credit card side of things, but I've learned a lot, and I've paid a lot of money to learn more. But I don't want you guys to think this is an important section because there is a lot you can do with credit cards, but I'm not one of the guys that says, hey, go out and get a whole bunch of credit cards and try to make money from credit cards. And, doing, by the way, you guys, I'm going to probably get interruptions from text messages. There's people have been texting me. It's great. I'm grateful to have so many friends that text and call me all day long. But I might get a few interruptions here and there, but we'll fix that. Just people telling me happy birthday and stuff. So, but I wanted to do this for you guys today. So anyway, I'm not a guy that is like, hey, go out and get all these credit cards and live your entire lifestyle on credit cards. I'm not that guy, but I will say that they're valuable. They're a tool. And if you use them right, they can be an amazing tool to help build your real estate business and any other business as time goes on. I'll just tell you guys, you know, every one of you guys is a real estate person, but you could evolve. You know, I have a lot of businesses now, and you know, credit is one of those things that you can use in any business. So so it's not, you know, you might grow a great big real estate portfolio and then start adding other things. The cool part is once you learn how to build a business, you can build almost any businesses. Most businesses operate similarly. So I like starting new businesses, and I got a lot of cool stuff in the works right now. But this is something that can work with everything. So let's kind of get started. So the first thing is in the credit card world, I want you guys to understand that everything changes. What we're recording this live August 26th, 2020. But if somebody watches this and comes back to this in a year, things could be different. The world could change. Credit is the cool part about, now I didn't plan this on purpose, but this whole bank financing system that I'm releasing is perfect timing because everything that's happening with COVID. I mean, banks are changing right now. Things are changing. Credit card companies are changing. There's weird stuff happening all over the place. I see credit companies retracting. It's going to be harder and harder to get loans. So this information is more important than it's ever been. But that also reinforces the fact that you have to be willing to be flexible. Things I tell you right now may work perfectly right now, and in a year don't work. But that doesn't mean there's not another angle. The way I've learned how to do financing and grow my portfolio so quickly is because I learned to be flexible, and I changed and moved when it was needed. So one of the first things I want to just teach you guys, foundational piece, is know how to do research and know how to change with the times. So one of the things I want to do is I'm going to do a screen share with you guys. I'm going to share a website I really like when I'm doing research on credit cards and everything that's happening and the way that credit cards are, maybe flexing or whatever. So I'm going to do a screen share with you guys. Let's see if I can figure this out. Share. Now I'm going to minimize this. Okay. So I've got this website up here. This is my favorite website for doing credit card research. This is uscreditcardguide.com. So this is my favorite one. This is a good website. You should write that down. uscreditcardguide.com. Now there's a lot of really, really good information. This is free. This is a free website. And it's one I like to use. So like, for example, we're going to be talking a lot today about business credit cards, and you'll see why in a minute. I love business credit cards, and they can be very, very powerful tools, especially as you grow your business. But if I was going to learn how to do, which business credit cards are the best ones for me to pick right now, I could go over here to this credit card tab and click on business credit cards and pull up a whole list of every single business credit card out there. So the cool thing about this website is it's not just an Amex website. It's not just a, Chase website. It's every single possible credit card put in one spot so you can compare them all. This is how I've learned how to do a lot of the stuff I do with credit cards. So for example, so I like to spend a lot of time with business credit cards. You'll see why in a minute. They're way more powerful than a personal credit card. If you are using personal credit cards right now for your business, you probably won't be after you watch this training. So one of the things that, again, we're going to talk a lot about this website and doing research and stuff, but there's a ton of business credit cards out there, and you can figure out which ones offer which. We'll just click on this first one just for fun and for an example. This is the Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business. Now, I'm not saying get this one. I'm just using this for an example. But in this website, it goes through every single, benefit of the card. So you can get, for example, an offer for $100,000, 100,000 points. Now you can see this newer update here. There's always going to be updates. Like when an offer comes out, this website will tell you what that offer is. Now, why that's important is, as crazy as this sounds, depending on where you live, and they do, so Amex and all these credit card companies, you will get a credit card offer in the mail or through an email or something, or if you go to a website, depending on where you live in the country, you'll see different offers than if you lived in another area. It's crazy. Like they've got the analytics down, and they know they can do minimum offers in some areas to attract more people. In other areas, they got to do better offers. This website will tell you the best offers. So for example, this card, it just goes through and tells you what you get. You can get, 3X on Delta, now previously 2X after 150,000 in purchases. You earn more miles, all the benefits, all the stuff you get. You go one site, you can find out. Now, 100,000 points if you sign up, but now it looks like they adjusted it in that'd be April, until only 45,000 points. Well, that might not be super exciting, but 45,000 points converted over into dollars is that'd be $450 in cash. So, there's lots of little ways to make money from, credit cards. Now I don't get super excited, and I don't personally make decisions on whether or not I'm going to get a credit card based on the cash back. But if I have a choice and I'm looking at all the benefits, and one card has a $95 annual fee and another card has, a $500 annual fee, and this other card has 100,000 points that you get when you sign up, then, it makes more sense to go through a different card. So we might refer back to this. I'm going to stop the share for a minute, but we might jump back to this as this training goes on here. Okay. So I want you to be aware of that website, because that's a site you can always go to as you learn and make decisions on what cards you're going to use. Now, one of the things after research, being able to always make sure you can go back and forth, one of the main things to understand is there's a rule out there. The Chase credit cards, now I personally, I like Chase. I like their credit cards. I've used their credit cards for probably 20 years. But Chase has a rule that says that you can't get a Chase credit card if you've gotten 5 credit cards in the last 24 months. So I'm going to save you a hard inquiry right now. Again, this will help your credit, 5 points or so, 10 points. It's called the Chase 5 and 24 rule. If you say, hey, I'm going to go get a Chase credit card, Matt just talked about Chase and they have some good business credit cards, and I'm going to go get, some good business credit cards, and you've gotten 5 new credit cards in the last 24 months, I don't care from who, it doesn't matter if it's from Chase, Amex, Capital One, or whoever. If you've had 5 credit cards in the last 24 months, you will waste a hard inquiry. You will automatically get turned down from Chase. So you've got to be careful about that. When you're in this credit world, I've seen people do this wrong, and all of a sudden they're getting all these hard inquiries on their credit, and a hard inquiry will probably drop your credit about 5 points. And that might not sound like a lot, and it's not. It's worth it if you're doing it for the right reason. But if you did that, 15 times in the course of 1 month on different days, and you dropped your credit 15 times at 5 points a pop, that's a 75-point drop. Guess what? You probably just dropped down to a lower bracket, and you're probably going to get turned down now until that creeps back up. A hard inquiry will stay on your credit report for 2 years. And but the nice thing is, after about 90 days, the credit score starts to recover. But the utilization, there's lots of things that figure out your credit. I'm not going to go into a ton of that right now, because we talked about that before. But an inquiry only messes with your credit for about 10% of the total overall score. So it's not that big of an impact. But if you get enough hard inquiries quick enough, you will drop your score. And I've seen it happen, and I've seen people score plummet, and then they're in a waiting game to improve their credit. So the Chase 5 and 24 rule is important, because this next thing is one reason why. If you have not applied for any new credit cards in the last 24 months, then you're at 0 in 24. On a business credit card, if you go to apply for a business credit card, you can apply for as many as you want and get approved as many as you want, and it does not affect the 5 and 24 rule. You could go get 10 new business credit cards. If you were at a 0 and 24 and you just went and got 10 new business credit cards, you'd still be at a 0 and 24. However, if you were at 5 and 24 before you tried to go get those business credit cards, you'd get none and you'd get hard inquiries put on your credit. So it's important to do this in the right way. Now, I know a lot of you guys probably have already gotten credit cards, and we all have, right? So, but it just matters if the number of credit cards you've gotten in the last 24 months in order to qualify for the Chase credit card. So it's important. Now, the reason why business credit cards are the ticket and why you should be focused on getting business credit cards and not personal credit cards. Of course, it's great to have a couple of personal credit cards for your own personal expenses. You don't want to use personal expenses for business expenses, all that stuff. But the reason why business credit cards are important is because they show no utilization on your credit report. Okay? I'm going to tell you that again. A business credit card does not count against your utilization rate, except for one instance, and that's the Capital One Spark Business. Now, I'm going to get into that card. I personally like that card. We'll talk about that in a little bit here. But think about this for a second. One of the most important factors in your credit score is utilization rate, okay? So if you go back and really look at the pie on your credit score, on-time payment counts for 35% of your overall score. So if you make on-time payments, you never have late payments, and you're always paying on time, that counts for 35% of your score. Utilization rate counts for 30%. So if you mess up your utilization rate, and I'll get into more of that in a second, if you mess up your utilization rate, you could massively, it almost hurts your credit score as much as missing a payment. It's crazy. I don't necessarily agree with how they do things, but I didn't write the rules. And the credit whole scoring process is a game, and you got to know how to play the game, so you play the game by the right rules. So utilization rate, all that is if you have, let's use easy numbers. You have $1,000 in credit line on a credit card. Let's say all your credit cards combined, just for easy math, is $1,000. So you can use your card up to $1,000, and then you get shut off. You have to pay it off. So $1,000. If you have $100 usage on that $1,000 credit line, you're at a 10% utilization rate. Okay, 10% is a good rate. I like to stay, 20% or less is where you want to stay below on your utilization rate. But that means that if you have $1,000 of credit line and you spend 900 of it, now your utilization rate is 90%, and your credit score will be affected by 30%. It's a big deal. It's almost as bad as missing a payment. Most people don't know that. And depending on when your credit, if you're like, well, Matt, I don't have to worry about that because I pay my credit card off every single month on time. As soon as that bill comes due, boom, I pay it. Well, then then the utilization's still working against you, because the credit bureau, the credit card companies report how much not how quickly you paid it off, but how much at statement date, how much credit you were using. So if you had $1,000 in credit line and you put 900 on it, and your bill came out today, and you're like, yep, I'm a good credit person, I pay it off today, and you pay 900 down to 0, you're still reporting at 900 or 90% utilization rate, because that was what your statement said. So you have to do it like 2 days in advance. Does that make sense? So here's why I love business credit cards, because utilization is so important. You don't want to show a lot of utilization against your credit. So business credit cards don't report except for the Capital One Spark. So imagine this. Let me get a drink. I got my Bang energy drink today. I know it's probably going to be a late night with my friends coming over, so I got to stay sharp. So imagine this. So imagine you have a personal credit card, and your personal credit card has a credit limit of $10,000. Okay, I'm just using easy numbers, guys. By the way, you know the credit limits can always be pushed. You can always ask for more, and a lot of times, if you've got a good credit score, they'll keep giving it to you. But let's say you have a credit card with $10,000 limit, and you have $9,000 against it. Okay, so you're at 90%. Not good. Like your utilization rate's high, and your credit score is going to take a beating. And you just like, hey, I've got it tied up in this project over here, and I can't really pay it off yet because the house hasn't sold. Now, one trick you could do is if you applied for a business credit card with a $10,000 limit on it, okay? As soon as you get approved, now I'm going to give you a couple scenarios here, but as soon as you get approved, now you have a business credit card with a $10,000 limit. You have a personal credit card with a $10,000 limit. Your charges are $9,000 against your personal card. Guess what your utilization rate is? It's still 90%. They're not counting the business credit card. It doesn't report to the credit bureau. So here's the trick. I'm going to show you how to raise your credit score massively. Take the new business credit card and transfer the balance from your personal credit card over to your business credit card. Now your utilization is zero. As long as you transferred the whole amount, your utilization is zero, and it's all on your business credit card, which doesn't report to the credit bureaus. Now your credit score jumps way back up again. Does that make sense? So again, the business credit cards are, the reason I like them are because they don't report to the credit, and typically you can get higher limits on them, especially given enough time showing an on-time payment and good payments. Like you can just keep raising them. So another trick is when you, let's say you like the Amex. A lot of people like American Express. I'm kind of, American Express is, I'm kind of hit and miss on American Express. I like them for some reasons and dislike them for other reasons. I personally think people from the company American Express, they're really arrogant. Their customer service is not great, based on the fact that they kind of like treat you like they're above you. I just never have liked that. At least that's been my personal experience. And I've had, I don't have it anymore. I used to have the Centurion card, the black card, the ones that the Hollywood people use, like the sports athletes. I mean, I could call Amex and get into any sold out event with that card, but it was $5,000 a year. And in 2015, I had $1 million stolen from me, and I had to make a hard decision because my cash was running out fast, and my card came due for the $5,000 re-up fee. And I chose to. I regret it now, but I was scrambling back then because I had so much money taken from me that I decided to cancel that card. So I canceled that a few years ago, but I still have the old titanium card. But back then, if you have a black card, you get really good customer service. But everything else, they kind of like treat you okay. So anyway, if you like Amex, one cool thing you can do is their cards, their business cards are charge cards. Okay, they're not credit cards, and what that means is you have the balance. Typically, there's a few cards that this doesn't apply to with Amex, but there's a lot of cards. Most of the cards are charge cards. And what that means is you're not paying any interest, but you have to pay the balance off in full every single month. But you can get just enormous and sometimes unlimited credit lines. And so that's one good thing about them. I mean, there's been a lot of months in my career where I had $300,000 and $400,000 in on an Amex credit card just for the month. If I spent a lot on materials for the warehouse, or just a lot of charges we do in real estate. I could run it up to 300,000 or 400,000 in a month, pay it off. You have to pay it off. You have to pay it off with that in that 30 days. You can't carry a balance. So that's one good thing I like about the Amex cards is you have unlimited, like super, super high limits you can raise it to if you show them good payment history. They're charge cards. They're not, there's no interest, but you have to pay it off. But none of that gets reported to your personal credit. So, but the cool thing about Amex is if you want to go out after this and say, man, I want to get some Amex business cards and use them for my business, you can apply for unlimited amount of Amex credit cards in the course of one day, and you only get hit with one hard inquiry. So if you wanted to say, so you said, hey, I want to add 5 new I have 5 businesses and I want to add 5 new Amex business cards to my, to my portfolio, you could do it all in one day. It's only one hard inquiry. So again, you can do a lot of cool stuff with that. Now, the Capital One Spark card, I actually really like this card. It's 2% back. Now, I spend a fortune on my credit cards because of my warehouse. We're buying a lot of materials, and it's just crazy how much money we spend buying materials for all these rehabs and stuff. And so the 2% is a big deal. So if one of the reasons Amex is nice because they don't report to your personal credit. Capital One does. However, Amex points aren't that great. You don't get anywhere near what you do with Amex. It's about 1%. But it's a little tricky the way they do things. I don't really agree with it, but you get about 1%, but Capital One, you get 2%. And that's a big number. If you're spending a lot of money on your credit cards, that can really add up over time. Now, the cool part is, one thing, Capital One is very, very customer service friendly. In fact, I spend enough on my Capital One that they assign me my own personal rep. So if I need something, I can literally pick up my phone and text my Capital One rep, and he handles stuff for me. So plus it gives me a lot of cool, we have a lot of conversations where he says, hey, Matt, can I talk to you about this off the record and show you how to do this one particular thing, which is pretty cool because I learned a lot of cool secrets by him giving me the answers. So I like Capital One for that, but they do report to personal credit. So you have to remember that if that's a big part of your overall credit line. So something to think about. But again, I really like them because their website's really easy. They have good customer service, and that 2% adds up to real money if you're spending a lot. So something to think about there. Any questions on anything I've covered so far? All good. Pretty straightforward. So again, the main things are here that I want to make sure you understand is utilization rate is almost as important as paying on time. You got to get this stuff off your personal credit. You got to get your expenses that you're using onto a business card. And if you have a personal credit card that you bought materials on or whatever you spent on, push that, get your business card approved, push that spend over with a transfer over to your business card and get it off your personal card. And then your utilization will be small and your credit score will go up. And if you want to apply for credit cards, never do it over time, this is just the opposite of how most people think. They're like, hey, I'm going to apply for this credit card today, and then in 4 months, I'm going to apply for this one, and then in 2 months after that. No, you don't want to do that. Do them all in one day. You can get it done because you're going to have less hard inquiries. I taught Tyler a lot of this stuff and Trina. And I've seen Tyler's credit score and Trina's both skyrocket. And a lot of it is just because, they're not, I told Tyler, if you're going to apply for credit cards, do it all one day, get 5 or 6 or 10 of them, whatever you want. He's got a ton. And then you get less hard inquiries and you get approved at a faster rate. And so now he's got higher credit line and his utilization rate is low and his credit score has gone up. And it's the same with Trina. The other thing to remember with credit cards is never let them shut off. I mentioned this previously. Never let your credit card, don't close credit cards. Leave them open. Even if you're not using them, use them maybe once a year to put a tank of gas in your car, just so you show some spend, pay it off, and leave it open, because you want time to play on your side as well. So not only is the utilization rate low on that card because you're not using it, but the longer it's open, the better your credit score. Because one of the factors in your credit score is how the length of time you've had credit, and they take all the different credit sources you have and they average them out. One of the tragedies that I had happen to me was I've had the Chase credit cards for like 20 years, and I wasn't paying attention. And there was one particular card, it was like the first credit card I think I must have ever had, and I didn't use it for so many years that and I never logged on to the account, because I like, why do I need to log on? I don't use the card. There's nothing due. Well, then all of a sudden, after so many years, the Chase cut it off and closed that card. Not only did I lose the utilization rate on that card, I also lost all the time that card had been open. So it lowered my average length of time, which hurt my credit. So those are something to think about. Don't close credit cards. And you might be saying, Matt, I don't need credit cards right now. Got more cash than I know what to do with. Great. Guess what? Get credit when you don't need it. Get it when you don't need it, because when you do need it, you can't get it. So if you don't need credit right now, when we get done with this, get credit. Okay, so it's just good. Okay, so we talked about that. So again, that business credit cards hides that debt because it doesn't report your credit. Now, on the business credit cards, if you have an LLC, now I mentioned this earlier, but I mentioned it a couple weeks ago, I think, but it's important. Credit card companies do not like real estate investors. Okay, they don't like them because in 2008 and 9, when the recession hit, a lot of credit card companies took a beating because real estate investors got wiped out during that whole recession, which was caused by real estate defaults. And a lot of those real estate investors had real estate companies and they didn't pay. Credit card companies lost a ton of money. And so now that's one thing that a credit card company looks for when they go to approve you, is they look to see what you're doing with the card. And if your credit card company, or if your LLC is, Matt Holdings or Matt Capital or Matt Rental Properties or Matt, real estate company, you will get denied in most cases because they don't like real estate. Even 12 years later, it's still the same. So you want to make sure that you start construction companies. By the way, you should have a construction company anyway if you're doing any fix and flips and you need that credit. And if you don't have a construction company, start one because you need one. Maybe you don't need one today, but get credit before you need it. Maybe you're wholesaling right now. Maybe you've never done a fix and flip, but you want to do them. Well, start working on that now because you want to get it before you need it. So you should always have two separate companies anyway. You should have your real estate holdings company, and then you should have a construction company. You shouldn't have your real estate holdings company doing the construction on your company anyway for liability purposes. But it works also just as good to have it separated when you need credit. And what do you need credit for? Well, you need credit for doing construction. So start a real estate or start a construction company and have construction in the name or something that portrays it as being a construction company. Now, you don't always have to start a new LLC. You guys realize you can go to the IRS website and get an EIN number as a sole proprietor with just your social security number. Now, I recommend having LLCs for this stuff, but if you're new and you don't want to start an LLC and like, man, that's going to cost me $800 to start that LLC or whatever it's going to cost, then just use your own social security number and go to the IRS website and get an EIN number with that social security number. Then you've got a sole proprietorship, but it still works for business credit cards. Does that make sense? So So that's just another thing that you can do to save a few bucks. But again, you want to have construction companies. So with one other little trick too, I see a lot of people get denied for credit cards because their addresses don't match. Meaning, and this is actually a technique that my Capital One guy taught me, and it does make an impact. So whatever your mailing address, when you file your LLC, whatever address that LLC is, it should match your address of your office. Okay. And if your office is your house, that's okay. Just as long as it all matches. What a lot of people do is they have separate addresses, and then for whatever reason, that's a sticking point for Capital One. Now, I'm assuming other credit card companies are the same, but it's funny because after I learned that, a lot of times when you get turned down, you don't, like, if you go to apply for a credit card and you get turned down, you don't always know exactly why. It could be the smallest little thing. Like, they're not going to tell you, well, because your company name was real estate, right? You had real estate holdings in your name. We just don't like that, so we're going to turn you down. They'll tell you something else. They'll say, well, you had too many inquiries on your credit. So it was funny. I learned that, and I helped a good friend of mine who does a lot of real estate. He does 10 plus deals a month. And I told him like, yeah, he was asking me about business credit cards one day, and I was teaching him a couple quick lessons over a 10-minute conversation. And he went right out and applied for the Capital One Spark card. And he called me back and he goes, man, I got denied. And I'm like, man, they're so aggressive right now, man. Is your credit? No, my credit's good. So I'm like, well, did you put the same address as from your office? Is your office address listed as the same as where your LLC was set up? He's like, I don't know, man. I set this LLC up a long time ago. Let me check. And he got back to me. He goes, no, it's a different address because I used to have a different office, and I've had this LLC for, a few years. And I'm like, well, you got to go file the change, make sure that matches, and reapply. And he did, and he got approved. Something super simple as that. Make sure that the addresses match. Okay. Any questions so far? Anybody have any questions on any of this? Sai, you good? Here, you want to? Yeah, go ahead.
I know you mentioned, let's say you're doing a flip or a rental, you create a separate construction company to do the actual work. I know, I'm not sure it's with a lot of lenders, but like the lender I use, at least I think here in Virginia, like, I can rehab my own properties alone. Mm-hmm. I'm the owner, so I don't need to hire a GC for it.
Right. Yep.
Will I run into any issues? And probably maybe a state question, if I have a separate construction company that I do own doing the work, like I wonder if that has to be licensed as a GC.
No. So first of all, your lender, when you buy the property, your lender's not even going to know it's a separate construction company that's going to do the work. They're probably not going to get into that with you. It's pretty unusual that a lender would ask that. And they're going to ask you questions like, well, do you have your own guys, or do you do your own work? They might ask that, but they're not going to say, well, give me the name of the construction company that's going to do the work. And it could be your construction company. Now, I'm transparent with my lenders. They all know that I have separate entities within my whole organization because I have to report that on my tax returns. So I don't think it would really hurt you at all. The more important thing is I'm just basically trying to teach you how to get more business credit without getting turned down. And if you have size real estate holdings company, and that company is amazing. You got all these properties in there. Their cash flow is huge. They're great properties. They're taken well care of. But the fact that you make money, you've got savings and all that stuff, the fact that you go to apply for a business credit card with that entity and it has real estate holdings in the name, you're probably getting turned down, even if your financials are amazing. because they have this bad taste in their mouth for real estate companies. So that's why you start your construction company. So you get that entity gets the credit, and then you can use that entity to do the rehab on your house.
Okay.
Even though it's still you, that entity is still you.
Because I think I kind of do that, but kind of slip into it where I have my LLC, which is Grow Homes. But when I did like try to work with the credit lines and the lender, I did it based on my wholesale business, which is Connect Deals LLC, which doesn't have anything in regards to real estate, and then just Connect Deals LLC.
Yep.
Name, but I came up with it like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Started.
It's the global picture, right? I mean, as all you guys grow your businesses, one of the things I talk a lot about in the book that you'll be getting soon is your global cash flow. And without getting too deep into it right now, banks, as time has gone on, more and more people have more and more companies. It's just how it's worked. And a bank, let's say you have an entity that is really, really strong with real estate, and then you have another entity that's another real estate company, and every property in that LLC is a dog, and it loses money every single month. Well, you say, hey, I'm going to leave that entity to the side because I lose all this money, all these bad properties, and they're upside down. I'm going to leave that entity alone. I'm just going to apply for a business loan in my new entity. Well, that's great, the new entity that you're applying, because it's got all the great properties and great cash flow. But the bank's going to look at your global picture, and they're going to say, wait a minute here, this entity that you want, that's great, but globally, because of your other entity that loses money, we can't approve you because your global cash flow is too low. But in your case, Cy, what you were just mentioning, you have a wholesale company that does wholesale deals, doesn't have any holdings, but it generates cash, right? That's income. That's good. So you could have a real estate holdings company that shows very little cash flow, because that's kind of what real estate holding companies do. By the time you write off your depreciation and the interest and property tax, all that other stuff, cash flow is usually pretty small or negative on paper because of the depreciation write-off. However, if you got this wholesale entity over here that's crushing it, making all this income, that works good. Your global picture looks amazing. So just always be thinking that global picture. So if you have a construction company, you got to just make sure that everything looks good with each entity. Now, I'm not saying that every single entity has to, cash flow amazing, but you got to keep a very close eye on the global picture. So,
would you recommend creating even a separate company outside a wholesale company, or would that be okay having that one umbrella wide wholesale and do the construction side of the company?
I would separate them.
Okay.
Yeah. Have your wholesale company, and then have your company that does fix and flips as a separate company. How I do it, guys, just so you guys know, is I have a construction company. I have two companies that just do fix and flips only. They don't hold properties for long term, and then I have a bunch of entities that do long term holds. It just works better on the tax side of things. It's kind of how I was coached by my CPAs going forward, or growing the companies. So I like to separate stuff. Not only that, but the more separation you have, the more liability protection you have. Like for example, Cy, using your wholesale company that has no assets, it's just an income generation machine. What if something happened and that entity got sued, right? And all of a sudden you got this lawsuit on your wholesale company. Well, guess what? It has no assets. You close that entity, move on, and start a new wholesale entity. See what I'm saying? You lose nothing because there's no assets to go after. So that's something to, I'll tell you guys, 5 years ago, one of my old construction company, 5 years ago, I had a big, one of my employees within that company had, a contractor was doing work on the house, and they took one of the floor vents off, out of the floor. One of my employees stepped down into the floor vent and hurt his back. And he already had a lot of injuries. It was a lot of BS, and that's just the world we live in. And so he says, I can never work again. So he sued for, what was it? $250,000, $300,000, and he won. So, but the thing is that entity was a construction company that had no assets. So I closed the entity and moved on. So now he still got his pay, you know, my workman's comp paid him, but that entity closed and I never used it again. It didn't cost me anything out of pocket. You know, insurance stepped in. So those are little things that you got to be thinking about.
So the effect of flipping to, like, did you have cash in any of the bank accounts tied to that entity, or were you able to, like, clear the
Well,
cash?
I mean, you can, but I mean, you have to pay yourself, right? So you gotta write yourself a check. You know, you gotta get paid. You're gonna still move that money, right? I mean, you're not gonna keep it in you're not gonna keep it in your wholesale company. That's gonna get paid to you personally, right? I mean, talk to your CPA, but that's how I do it. Everybody's got a different situation. I'm not a CPA, all those disclosures, but it's a good conversation to have, right?
So for your wholesale business, you make the money, and as soon as the money comes in, you're paying yourself.
I move it out.
You
Yeah.
get the account immediately.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yep. It's liability
And
protection.
Also, Matt, it's all the entities you got, it's all LLC, or you got corporations as well?
I only do LLCs. I don't have no S corps, and I have no. And that was my own personal situation, and that's what my CPA, who only does real estate, advised me to do, and he explained it step by step on why that was best for me. But yeah, I just use LLCs only.
Okay.
Any other questions before I got a couple more things to talk about here. And then we'll move on. Or are we good? You guys have any other questions? Good?
Hey, Matt, this is Victor.
Oh, sorry.
Matt, this is Victor. I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, where does the business credit show up? You know, like the cards and stuff that you get on your business. Is it just a separate credit? I mean, does the bank run a separate credit report on
No, that's a really good
LLC?
Great question. So your business, here's how it works. In the beginning, when you go to apply for a business credit card, they are going to pull your personal credit. So they're going to use your personal credit to approve the business credit card, but the business credit card is not going to show up on your personal credit. Does that make sense? So let's say you have a 750 credit score personally. They're going to pull your personal credit, say, okay, yeah, he's approved. We'll give him $10,000 line of credit. But even after you're approved and you start using it, it never shows on your personal credit. But but over time, your entity will build its own business credit. You can get you can get trade lines set up. You can start building your building your business credit with those credit cards you're done in Bradstreet number. So with business credit, it goes to eventually converts into a Dun & Bradstreet number, and they give you their own credit rating. And eventually, someday, we're giving enough time, your Dun & Bradstreet number could get big enough that you don't even have to even use your personal credit score anymore. That LLC is so strong financially, and the credit in that company, you say, hey, I want to apply for a $100,000 line of credit with just my business, and I don't want my personal credit attached at all, and that can happen. That happens. It's pretty cool. Does that make sense?
So the only way to set up I mean, I know you start with your personal credit. That's how you apply for it. How do you build it up? You say trade lines of credit. I mean,
yeah. So your one way to build it is through having a credit card attached to it. That's one, and then you can get what's called trade lines. A trade line is when a company you buy from gives you credit and reports to Dun & Bradstreet. So, like for example, Grainger Supply Company. They're like you can buy a lot of anything from Grainger. You could get a a trade line set up with Granger for $1,000, $5,000. Doesn't matter. But you borrow from, you buy something on your business, so it doesn't take anything from your credit card. You're not paying with a credit card. You're not paying with cash. You're paying with a trade line. They're giving you credit. And then you pay it off. They report to Dun & Bradstreet. Yep, he pays on time. And you're building your credit. You get 2 or 3 of those types of companies that report those trade lines to the business credit bureaus, and that company will build its own credit. And someday you wake up and you don't need your personal credit to get new credit cards anymore. You just use your Dun & Bradstreet.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense?
Thanks. Yeah, thanks.
Cool. Sai, you had another question.
Well, I was going to ask. So basically, for your wholesale and your fix and flip business, you only keep enough money there just for marketing and clear, and you just clear everything else out.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally up to you. I mean, I like to, so all of my, and this is just my personal situation, all my entities, because I own everything 100%. I don't have partners, right? I own right now I have 1 property with a partner. All the rest, 100% me. And so when that's the case, a lot of your taxes flow all the way through to you personally anyway. Okay, again, this is a conversation to have with your CPA because every situation's different. But because everything flows to me anyway, I've just been taught, like, hey, you can do distributions. It's called a distribution. You say, hey, I want to make whatever, 10,000 a month, 100,000 a month, 500,000 a month, whatever. I've got my wholesale company just made $100,000 this month net. I'm going to leave 10,000 in there for marketing. I'm going to give myself a distribution for 90 grand. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Sorry for going a little bit off topic, but
no, that's okay. That's what we're here for. You're all good.
Powerful.
Cool. Well, good question. So I want to cover a couple more things with you guys, and then we'll wrap up. On your personal card, on your personal credit cards, my favorites, I just want to give them to you. And I've got all my friends use this personal card now. It's called an Alliant signature card. It's from Alliant Credit Union. Okay. You can Google that, Alliant Credit Union. They have their signature card. You can get it. Now, when I signed up for this a few years ago, it was 3% on every single thing you bought. You got 3% cash back every purchase. Unlimited amounts of money. Now, I think a lot of people took advantage of this. I know I did. But now it's 2.5% on any purchase up to $10,000. So if you use that, let's say you buy groceries. Let's say you buy your everyday stuff. Maybe you buy stuff from Amazon. If you use that card and $10,000 in a year and you get 2.5% back, that's, that's what, $250 you get, free money. Now, so that's a good card to have. I love that card. I used it. I got a small, I think I started out only getting $7,500 limit, but easily within a 6 month was able to build it up to $50,000 credit limit. So every 90 days, I just call and say, hey, I've been using the card, paying on time. I want to raise my limit. They would raise it up, and then I do it again 90 days later. So, that's a good card to have because I like the cash back. Secondly, there's an Amex Blue Cash Reserve. It gives you 6% on all your anything you buy in a supermarket. You can get 6% back up to $6,000. So again, you can save yourself several $100s in the course of a year. Those 2 things right there, if you just did those 2 things, what is that? What's that come out to? Let's just do some quick math here. 10,000, 2.5%. So we have 250, and if you use 6,000, it's 6%. It's 360. So that right there, those 2, just using those 2 cards for your everyday purchases, groceries and everything else, pays for this whole entire course in 1 year. the money you save. That's how simple that is. It's just free money hanging out there. All you got to do is use it. Cash back is nice. You know, I do just insane amounts of purchases, you guys, because of my warehouse. Like it's a cash machine. So, but I'll save up millions of credit card points, millions at one time, and then cash them all in. I show them all to my friends. Hey guys, I'm a credit card point millionaire, and build up a couple million points and then cash them all in. Just more fun. You get $30,000-$40,000 at one time. But that's free money because you're going to buy it anyway, right? And you pay it off. You're not paying interest. So those two cards are really good cards to get for your personal use. I also like the Chase credit cards. You don't get as much for cash back, but they're decent cards. The other thing too, you guys, the one last thing I want to tell you is the credit game it's a game. Like there's a thing called the reconsideration line. If you call a credit card company and you try to get a card and you don't get approved, then that doesn't mean you can't try to keep getting approved. Like it's like my bank stuff. When I'm trying to call banks, I call a lot of banks to find a bank that I'll work with. But if you get denied by a credit card company, you can call back in 15 minutes, half hour later, and talk to somebody else is going to answer the phone. I mean, not the same. These credit card companies have thousands of employees. Somebody else will answer the phone, and you can try to. You already had your credit pulled. It's not going to get pulled again. The credit bureaus will pick up that, you know, if they try to run it again, they'll see that it's all in one day and it won't count against. It's only one inquiry, so it won't hurt you, and you can try to reply again. And if you get denied, try to do it again and try to do it again. And you can even say, hey, I've tried to get, you know, approved. I just don't think the person I talked to before knew my whole credit situation. Here's what I got going on, and a lot of times you can eventually get approved by just calling and building a good rapport with somebody, being nice. Like these are customer service, and they have some leeway, and they get treated crappy all day long. If you're just a really nice person and ask them how their day's going and what they got going on, and man, this is what I'm doing, but hey, you know, I'm looking for I've got this I've got this thing I want to go buy, and I need a little more credit, or I need this card and I want to switch away from this other company. One of the best things you can do is use another company. For example, people hate American Express. You can say, well, right now I'm using American Express and I really want to switch over to this card. I think you guys have some better features, but I just, you know, I want to, and if you mention another card, that kicks in a different gear for them with what they're supposed to say. And they're like, wait, we can take money from American Express if we approve him. Then that's negotiation, and watch what happens. You can get approved. So if you get turned down, don't be afraid to call back and try again. And you can even call into a credit card company, and they have a line called the reconsideration line. So you can call the credit card company and ask for the reconsideration phone number, and then call that back and talk to somebody else and say, hey, I really think you guys need to reconsider. Here's why I'm amazing. Be the nicest guy on the planet or gal. Treat them well, and watch what happens. You get in and you're in. So that's something that I want you guys, be persistent. I mean, there's been a lot of times when I've been turned down for stuff, and I just, you know, I don't give up. I try again. And so just remember, like today, I'll give you an example. You'll never talk to the same person. I had this weird alert hit my phone on my Capital One, and like a Samsung Pay thing got approved. And I'm like, what in the heck is Samsung Pay? Like, who's got access to my card? So I call Capital One to find out, and I talked to the guy. He's really nice, got it all figured out. I hang up, and I'm like, crap, I forgot to ask a question. So I immediately called back, and a totally different person on the phone. And they didn't have any clue as to what I just talked about with the other person, right? It just proves it. Like one person may be having a bad day, and they don't, you know, your name's Matt, and this person's worst enemy in life is a guy named Matt. And so guess what? I'm not going to approve this guy. Like, that's the type of stuff. These are human beings you're dealing with here. So just kind of keep that in mind. Don't give up, and call back and get a reconsideration, and watch what happens. You'll get approved. A lot of times, maybe you try a bunch of times, but you'll eventually get it done. Even if it's a small amount of money and you don't care how small it is, that's a great place to start. You pay it on time. You do a really good job for 90 days and then call back and ask for more. I have credit cards right now that have $100,000 limits and they started small, $7,500, $10,000. But every 90 days, 6 months, call, ask for more. I want to raise my limit. Why do you need the more money? Well, I'm using an Amex card over here and I want to use you guys and I'm going to make this big purchase. That's how you do it. And you do it when you don't need it. You don't need the credit. One of my cards that I've had a really long time has a $100,000 limit on it, and it almost never gets used. Doesn't matter. If I need it, it's there. So anyway, I hope that helps. Do you guys have any other questions on anything else? You all good? No questions, huh? All right. Well, if there's no other questions, I'm going to jump off. It's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Woo, 45 shots. Let's go. Woo, turn up.
I might have to do a little Tito's. We'll see. Katrina got some Tito's today, but I got some friends. We're going to cook some steaks, so should be fun. It's 94 degrees though. We need it to cool off around here. I got a fan running here, and I got my air turned down about as low as it goes. So, well, anyway, it was good connecting with you guys. Glad to see you guys. Hope you guys are doing well. Keep crushing it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, happy birthday, man.
Thank you, Matt. Happy birthday.
Thank you. All right,
Yeah,
we'll
enjoy.
see you guys. All right, bye.